Welcome to Fox Valley in Focus. I'm Barb Nadeau, and our guests today include Cindy Worsley, Executive Director of Fox Valley Older Adult Services, Tom Sikora, he's the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Sandwich, and Karen DeAngelis, she's an AARP tax aid volunteer income tax preparer. So as you can see from this lineup of guests, we're going to talk about getting important things done today and also getting ready for spring. We'll get started right after this.
Bye, Janet. It's nice seeing you again. You look good, girl. Just let me know what I can do to help.
Well, to help me, she'd have to help every day. Every hour, every ouch, every time my wife calls for help. I mean, maybe she could help me make her lunch. But the crust, all the crust has to be cut off the corners. She could help me run to the doctor for the 5th time this week. Help me with the specialist and the second opinions and the painful paperwork about paperwork. Help me deal with how hard it is seeing my wife's name on so much paperwork. But this is on me. I'm the only one who can do this, like this, for her. Besides,
Take care.
we will. Janet doesn't like her cooking anyway.
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
Our first guest today is Karen DeAngelis. She is a AARP tax aid volunteer. So as much as we all hate doing our income taxes, I can't imagine why someone would volunteer to do everybody else's. But Karen, thank you for being here and telling us about this project.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a volunteer. So I joined the ARP tax aid program 4 years ago. When I retired, I applied online to ARP and told them I was interested, and I've been a volunteer with the program ever since.
So you have really grown to make this your niche, and you are really becoming a leader among the other volunteers. And I think that's got to have something to do with the, I don't know, just the process itself and maybe the training. So can you tell me about, how do you become a tax aid volunteer?
So all of our volunteers are retirees, but we all come from different backgrounds. I actually do have an accounting background, which has kind of helped me become an instructor with our local program. But the training is provided through both the IRS and through ARP itself. So the IRS provides all of the reference materials, and each of us needs to be certified and pass a series of exams. And then ARP provides instructional materials as well. They have some in-person sessions as well as webinars that we can watch to gain additional knowledge. And one of the best pieces of resource that they provide is a workbook of problems, which would be kind of real-life examples of what would be in a tax return. And we get access to the software in advance so that we can actually practice. So on the first day that we start doing returns, we actually have already done dozens in our practice exercises.
So is this part of the VITA program or associated with the VITA, that's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program?
Yes, VITA is the IRS program, and at this point it is a partnership. The ARP Foundation partners with the IRS VITA program to provide our tax assistance. So ARP this year is celebrating its 50th anniversary of the program. So they're really excited. They started out with 4 volunteers 50 years ago. They've now grown to 32,000 volunteers and 7,000 sites. And last year provided assistance to over 2 million taxpayers. The IRS, like I said, partners with us. The IRS VITA program partners with a number of nonprofit organizations. Sometimes you'll see them in association with a local university or a local community, and that's how they sponsor the programs. And like I said, they provide a lot of the training materials, and everyone needs to be IRS certified before they can participate in the program.
And you have to redo this every year. You have to train every year for whatever's new on the tax forms that people
That's
are going to see.
correct. Every year there's a new session of training. So we start long about September-ish, and we start getting the materials so we can start practicing and learning, and we have to pass the exams before we get to January and the sites start to open in February.
You talked about how the program has grown. Locally, how many volunteers do you have?
So the district that I operate in has 2 sites. We operate out of the Aurora Senior Center and the Yorkville Senior Center, which is also known as the Beecher Center. And for those 2 centers, we now have 14 volunteers. So on any given day, we'll have either 7 or 9 volunteers doing returns, and we operate 1 day a week out of each. In Aurora, we're there on Mondays, and on Thursdays in Yorkville.
How many tax returns are you able to do in an average session, a day that you're in Yorkville or in Aurora?
Well, actually, our last Yorkville session, we completed 44 returns. So that, that's a good example. We do end up with some clients who come in and we can't finish their return that day. They were missing some information, and they'll come back again. So we may have seen more clients than 44, but we completed 44 returns on that day. And last year, we finished 725 returns through the season at the 2 centers.
Any idea how much money that brings into the community? I know it's got to be thousands of dollars.
I mean, clients who have come in and said they had their returns prepared last year for them, it sounds like the fees have ranged from $150 to $250 for them to have the returns prepared previously. So that times the $725 returns would be the amount of money.
Just that
saved.
alone, not to mention that sometimes people, I'm surprised, especially older people, sometimes you hear, well, I don't want to do my taxes, or I don't have to do my taxes anymore, or I forgot to do my taxes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there are a number of people who don't have to file a return. Effectively, if your income level is below what your standard deduction and exemption number would be, legally you don't have to file.
Is that a good practice, though?
Well, it's not really a good practice because you hear so much about identity theft these days, and one of the prime areas that the theft occurs is where people file a tax return using your name and your social security number, and they get a refund. And they run away with the money, but you don't even know that it's happened unless you file a tax return and find out that your social security number has already been used. That allows the government to know and pursue where the theft occurred. Or if you file your return first, then when somebody tries to fraudulently file a return, they can't get it accepted because your number has already been filed with the IRS.
Even if you don't have to, it's still good practice to do
ARP
it.
is recommending that everybody go ahead and file, which is why if you can do a free filing of your tax return, it's well worth it. I don't know that you would want to go pay to file a return if you wouldn't otherwise need to.
But come see you.
But come see us. And for frame of reference, if you're single and under 65 and your income is under $10,400, you don't have to file. Married filing joint under 65, it would be $20,800 that you wouldn't have to file unless your income went above. So that might give you kind of a frame of reference for whether you fall into the category of needing to file or not.
Now, we were talking about the fact that this is sponsored by AARP. Do I have to have a membership with AARP to take advantage of your service?
No, not with the ARP tax aid program. We will serve all clients. So we have no age restriction, no income limits. You don't have to be an ARP member. There are some types of tax returns that we can't do, and that's based on what is included in the IRS training. So we're not allowed to do things that they don't train us on. So it's more unusual types of income. So we're not allowed to do farm income because that has a lot of complication. We can't do rental income. We can do small business income if it's yourself involved in the business. We can't do the business if you have employees or inventory or depreciation or significant expenses.
Sell makeup or jewelry, or you're a crafter or a woodworker.
And you do it out of your home, then that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
So we do a number of those kinds of returns. So it's the more complicated returns that we can't do, but everyone else is welcome to come again. No age restriction, no income limits.
That's amazing. And now you said you're in 2 locations, Yorkville and Aurora, and so to make a phone call to either one of those senior centers, is that the best way to find more information?
Yes, they keep the schedule. They'll know what appointment times are available, and we'll be more than happy to put your name in a slot.
Karen, thank you so much for being here on our show. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with more right after this.
Yeehaw!
Llama al 1-888-971-2013 y obtén información para cuidar mejor a quien cuidó de ti.
Cindy Worsley joins us now. She's the Executive Director of Fox Valley Older Adult Services in Sandwich. Cindy, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Just before this segment of the show, we were talking about your long history with Fox Valley Older Adult
Correct,
Services. You've
correct.
been there on and off and watched the whole landscape of senior issues change.
Yes, absolutely. Starting in 1986, where we were a small agency and did not have a lot to do with social services, and then moving on to today, where we do a lot with senior services to keep the seniors living in their own home. It's much more complex than it was in 1986, certainly.
You are every day feeding people at home, involved in personal care and
Yes.
hiring caregivers and
Yes.
supporting them. There's so many different things that happen in and out of your agency.
There really are. Just to clarify a little bit, we provide space for the Voluntary Action Center, and in return, they provide noon meals, home-delivered meals, and transportation for our seniors. We provide the daily activities that go on there, which I feel are the first and foremost line of defense for people as they get older and as they want to remain healthy, because it helps keep them healthy in mind as well as body. And then we move on to our adult day service program and the in-home service program as well, which all of those are not medical facilities, but are medical programs, but they are to help people live longer in their own home.
You've had a lot of challenges with the state of Illinois, and I know that, I think the last time we had you on the show, you were talking about how the state, because of the whole budget mess,
Yes.
owed a lot of money
Yes.
to Fox Valley Older Adults. How is it now?
I have to say that it is cleared up. We still call the comptroller's office and say it's time to pay us, but we are paid up to date, which has just been unbelievably wonderful. I can't think of enough kind words to say how great it has been. And I do want to thank our local state representatives and senators who have worked so hard with this, regardless of which side of the aisle they sat on. We did appreciate all of their help. We had times in the last 2 to 3 years where we had to do without payroll for our in-house staff, or we had to say, please hold your check for a while. We had to
That's an amazing
ask
thing.
our creditors to wait for us to pay them. But fortunately, we are caught up with absolutely everything, and we are doing well in terms of keeping ourselves solvent. I think that's the word I'm looking
Well,
for.
and I think it's interesting that you still have to keep the line of communication open.
Yes.
You have to constantly keep asking, don't forget us, give us
That's
the money.
right.
And you are obviously a force to be reckoned with, which is good.
Well, thank you.
Good for
Thank
all
you.
of us. How
Yes.
large of an area does your agency serve?
Quite large, actually. The senior center serves people who can come there. We don't have any geographic guidelines for that. So if you can get there, join us in the programs. Our in-home service program serves DeKalb, Kendall, LaSalle counties in the community care program, which is a state-supported program. And then in addition to that, Kane County for people who pay privately for that. The adult daycare program, over the last few years when we had all of the financial issues with the state, we did have to close 2 of our adult daycare programs. We're hoping in the future to be able to open those again. But for right now, the only daycare that we have is in Sandwich. But people come to us from DeKalb and Sycamore, from North Aurora, the part that's still in Kendall County. And we work with the Kendall Area Transit Program as well as the Voluntary Action Center to get all of our clients to the Adult Day Service Program. And again, that's a program that takes the community care funds from the state or accepts those, and also accepts people who pay privately, and long-term care insurance. will help with adult day as well as in-home service.
Now, as we were talking about this, you have day-to-day challenges with all of these programs,
Yes.
and you've had some challenges before with funding.
Right.
That means you are always trying to find money.
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about some of the special events. You've got several things coming up.
We
You've
do.
got an open house happening
Yes,
and a couple fundraisers.
That's right. On what date did we put down there? On in February 27th. I'm sorry, I drew a blank there for a minute. We were having an open house because we've done some things to the building. We hadn't really updated it in about 20 years, and it was time. We're still working on those things, but we've been able to do this with grants and help from some of our funders. And so we thought, hey, what a great idea to have the seniors come and see all of that. So on the 27th of
March.
Thank you very much. We will be open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Transportation. We are providing lunch for everybody, but those of you who know Sally's cooking for it, so that's really great. And there will be some games and some good times and some programs, and just to let you get to know us better.
You also have done very well with your mattress sales.
Yes, we have. Not that we get to sleep there, but Essential Bed provides a really great sale for people. It will be March 17th and 18th, Saturday and Sunday. The people from Essential Bed will be there all day, and so please stop in and outfit your home.
Okay.
Well, yes.
And then you are looking forward to your yearly gala,
Our
and that's
yearly
coming
gala,
up
yes.
May 5th, I think.
Yes, on Saturday. And we really are looking forward to that. That's something we have been doing. I think the first one we did was in 1990. So we've been doing that for a long time. We have a great time. There will be dinner. There will be auction. We're going to do a quarter auction for people who enjoy that. And we will have music by Red Horse, which is a group in the Sandwich area, and they will be coming in. Mayor Olson is being our MC for that event. And so we'll have some great times and dinner, good time, entertainment, and you might even be able to find something nice for yourself there. So.
Well, and I think that's an awesome opportunity too, because you have a beautiful community center, and the way you have that building is so much larger than
yes.
anyone can ever realize. When you come in, you have no idea what all is housed there, but as an entertainment venue,
Yes.
it's really
Yes.
a treasure to have that right there
Well,
in Sandwich.
thank you very much. We think so too, and many people do rent it for special parties and wedding receptions, anniversary parties, all of that kind of thing, and we're available for that. It's one of the ways we support ourselves, because as much as I talk about fundraising, there is no state support for our senior center. So we fund that, utilities and the improvements and staff that takes to run it ourselves through donations and fundraising events.
So stopping in to visit, coming to see the mattress sale where you can get anything from a pillow to the fanciest
Yes.
bed you've ever
slept in.
ever imagined, to coming to the gala and enjoying the
Right.
the dinner and the entertainment, and of course any auctions or raffles or
Right.
whatever.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that all makes a difference in making this possible
It
for
does.
so
It
many
does. And
people.
we're always so glad to be able to do those things, because that helps us provide another service for our seniors. I was watching the lady before me who talked about income taxes, and we refer to their office for our seniors, and to the office in DeKalb and the office in Mendota as well. So we really do our very best to make sure our seniors get all the services they have, and we can do that because we get great donations from the community, which we truly treasure and appreciate.
And I think what you just said is so important, because a caregiver, a son, a daughter, grandson, you know, whoever can
Yes.
call your office and ask almost any question, and you're going to have the answer. Because
know
you
somebody who does,
You have
yes.
such a wide range of things that you do. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for coming
Thank
and
you for
sharing
having
that. And we're
us.
looking forward to your special events.
Great, thank you.
We'll be back right after this.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Rounding out our show today is Tom Sikora. He is the Director of Emergency Management for the City of Sandwich, and it's always fun when you come on because we get to talk about the weather. The weather, Tom, you know, I don't know what to say. The weatherman always makes it sound like Armageddon. But it's fun to talk to you because you talk about how to get prepared and what we need to do. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So as the Emergency Management Director, do you do some of that weather prognosticating? And can you look far out and see what we're going to expect?
My dirty little secret is I cheat. I take strictly off the Weather Service. I don't get involved with any of the private services or the television folks because their object is to get you to look again. Mine is just to keep you safe.
Okay, so it is a difference. It's really, in the way we hear our weather and the way we respond.
Mm-hmm. And you have to remember that that's kind of leavened in there, that they want you to look again.
Mm-hmm. So the first week of this month is always Severe Weather Preparedness Month. And it's the time of year because we're looking forward to, well, just about anything. Could be tornadoes, just high windstorms, could be, lightning, could be flooding.
Right.
And so you take this pretty seriously, getting the people of Sandwich to be prepared.
That's it. It's what I do, and people think I'm a little off because of it, but somebody has to wear the sandwich board and say, the end is coming.
So every year you make an awareness campaign on severe weather. So what kind of things are you communicating to the folks in your area?
We do a lot through our Facebook page. Along with daily forecasts and interesting things that I find here and there that I troll the internet for and put out there to help people keep safe.
Okay, so that social media is a big part of it.
It's probably our anchor point.
Do you also appear, you're here today, thank you for being here, and are you also trying to appear other places or do public speaking?
I will go wherever I'm invited.
Okay. How about school kids? Do you go and visit them as well?
No, I'm afraid we don't. I've never gotten an invitation from the schools, and that's kind of unfortunate because if you get it to the kids, especially the little ones, they take it home like a wire recorder.
That's right. They'll let their parents know. That's it. Well, you were telling me before the show that you actually started as a young kid yourself with your interest in weather and emergency preparedness.
15 years old.
And what was it that hooked you?
Well, I was always kind of a weather nut, and then I had an interest in radio, and then I heard these guys on the air in town during a weather emergency. I was like, now this is interesting.
This is something I want to do.
Then I made a pest of myself, and there I was.
Now, do you also get involved in the packing the kits and having the gear? Are you ready to evacuate?
That's another thing that's a problem. I never take cover when things happen because I'm in it. I'm usually out or what have you.
So you're pretty good at seeing what's happening around you. You have
Exactly.
an awareness of what's happening.
Well, that's kind of a part of what we do is to get out in front of it.
Are you telling me we should do what you say and not what you do?
That's the short version, yes.
Okay. So what kind of advice would you give people when it comes to their homes, to their cars, to their personal self?
At home, the first thing you absolutely need, without fail, is a NOAA All Hazards radio. The way they're made now, you can narrow it down by county so it's not going off in the middle of the night for some hailstorm in Galesburg.
Mm-hmm. So you can focus on your area.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that some of them will have like a little beep, and then if you touch them, they'll tell you the message, so you can choose whether to listen.
The way it's set up now, most of them are they have a wake the dead alarm, and then they will automatically unmute and tell you what's going on, which is kind of great at dark 30. Because you're a little disoriented anyway.
Okay, but will you be able to control how severe that alert is as far as, Okay, I don't want, if it starts to rain, I don't want to know it, but if
You can
it's,
set it for straight up severe thunderstorm, tornado warnings. You can add watches, flash flood stuff. You can add or subtract whatever you want the way they make them now.
where do I get one?
Just about anywhere. The usual suspects, Walmart, Walgreens usually runs a special about this time of year.
So our basic stores or hardware stores probably have them as well.
Amazon,
Okay.
all the usual suspects.
Okay. Beyond that, what's next?
Prepare an area in your home to take shelter. This would be if you have a basement, under a stairwell or a workbench, or if you have a single floor home in the smallest room in the house with as many walls between you and the exterior as possible. In that area, you're going to put flashlights, a battery-powered radio, thick blankets. Now, out of the storm in Joplin, Missouri a couple of years ago, they found that many people were killed by head injuries. So now we advocate not only a thick blanket, but something on the order of a bicycle or motorcycle helmet. I know it sounds silly, but a 2x4 through the head isn't silly.
That's really interesting, though, to do that, to have that closet area or whatever it is under your stairs and just have those few items there, and that would be a good place to hang the bike helmets.
Yeah, exactly. Thing is you have to check that stuff if you've already prepared it. The Joplin storm was really kind of a watershed because we learned a lot out of it. We learned that people don't pay attention to warnings. Many people had to go out and look for themselves or call a relative. And that's not what you need to do. You need to take cover and stay there. That's why you have a battery-powered radio so you know when to come out.
So the thing is that in the moment, we'll forget what the best advice is. And that's why if you have a plan, you've made the plan, you've actually gone through the steps to make that place. Instead of saying, well, I'm going to run down and take cover, actually preparing the spot is part of training yourself that that's where you're going to go.
Right, and when you do get the warning, try not to be people and behave in the fashion that your curiosity directs you.
Now, I know you mentioned that you're always posting things on social media, but you also have a website, which I know you're proud of, and I know that not every county, every area is going to use a website in the same way. Tell us about yours.
What we have basically is a description of what we do, descriptions of our vehicles, some local information as far as who to call for what. I've kind of backed off of that in favor of the social media, but
you
the
link
website
back to
is
it
there,
so that
yeah.
it's there. So people need to know. I mean, you have to have a depository for that information.
Right.
And it's good to have it.
And it's always multiple ways to get things out there because sometimes social media is not everybody's cup of tea.
Now, when there is something like we've had flooding, we've had tornadoes in our area, do you go out to the scene? Do you respond?
During weather emergencies like watches and what have you, when it gets close, I will go out and our folks will go out and actually spot storms. Because not only do we need to know in town, but this information has to go to the Weather Service too. Being out as far west as we are, we're kind of the Weather Service's canary in the coal mine for these things.
So you're the eyes and ears, and I know that you are well connected to everyone in the county and everyone that needs to know.
After this kind of time, you get to know some folks.
Well, you have had a long history in emergency management. I think the city of Sandwich is pretty lucky to have you, and I feel glad to have you here. It's good reminders, everything you've told us, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. If they ever figure out how much fun I'm having, they wouldn't let me do it anymore.
Tom Sikora, your Director of Emergency Management for the City of Sandwich. And it's just been a great time to be here with you on Fox Valley in Focus. And for Fox Valley Television, I'm Barb Nadeau.